Let's go over here to, we're going to skip operations altogether. Let's go to page 10, programming instructions. I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version. There's 30-some different programmable parameters. There's some of them that's in here that you'll never have to mess with, and there's some of them in here that might be neat. So it goes from one extreme to the other. There's 30-some of them in here. Let me tell you the rules of the road. This is no different than driving a car. The rules of the road is once we get into the programming of this thing, we can only move forward. We do not have reverse. We can't back up and catch something if we missed it. We've got to go all the way out the other end and come back around to it again. Rule number 1 in the programming, we can only go forward. Rule number 2 in the programming, and honestly in the beginning, this is what I had the hardest thing with. Be honest with you, I have dyslexia, and I read things different than the way they're written and stuff like that, and sometimes I might have to read things 3 or 4 times. Wait a minute, that didn't sound right. I had to go back and read it again to figure out what it did say. But my problem is losing control of the blinking lights. There's a series of lights as you're programming, as you go step by step, the lights are going to change. The sequence and the location and the blinking fast and slow are going to change as you go through the programming. There's no readout here that tells you what step you're on. You know what step you're on by what sequence of lights is blinking and matching it up with whatever step it is there. That was the hardest thing for me in the beginning with my situation. But once I realized that, hey, all it is just a bunch of blinking lights. I just got to go through here and find what it is I need. Sometimes if I want to make a change and it might be step 25, as soon as I get in there into the programming side of it, boom, 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 I'll hit that button 24 times and I'll get right there where I need to be at, look at the lights, determine where you're at, and then I'd hit it one more time, and now I'm where I need to be at, because I might only need to make one little old change. But you can make as many or as few changes as you want to. But like I said, there's some of these changes I recommend you not to do because it's not going to do either one of us any good. But what we've done is we put some flexibility into this system so that we could use other manufacturers' valves and things of that nature. So that being said, this is probably one of the most sensitive things we're going to talk about is how do you get into the programming. You absolutely do not want an operator to know how to do this. Absolutely, he don't need to know how, because he's going to make your life a living nightmare because there's only one way in. And it's not having this magic code like we had over here on the touch screen that you got to put the right number, sequence of numbers in. It's a matter of button presses. And in this case, if you'll look down halfway the page, it says to enter the programming mode, press and hold the blast button, and let's see, press and hold the blast button and turn the power on. You know what? Press and hold the blast button and turn the power on. Both of these buttons in the upper left. Yeah, no, that's even written wrong. So I found a mistake here. Okay, need to make a note. What you need to do is you need to press blast and hold it, and press pause and hold it. Press both of those buttons and turn it on. Now, if something happens, maybe in another revision, because these do have revisions on them now, it might not work like I'm telling you to, then go back and just press that one button and hold it. So it's got to be one or the other. It can't be anything else. It's got to be one or the other. So if you've got an earlier unit, you would press and hold the blast button and flip this on, and it'll get you into programming mode. Or if it's a later revision, there's a possibility that it may be blast and pause and flip it on. And the way you're going to know that is you're going to have two blinking lights blinking at you. That's how you're going to know that I'm in the programming mode. It's got to be one of those two ways. All right, once we're in the programming mode, here's another thing that we do, is that if we want to skip over something and not change it, we'll use the blast button and just momentarily press the blast button. What I mean by that is we're blasting over it. We're blasting over it. That's what we're doing. And then when I press the pause button, okay, I'm stopping here. I'm pausing here, and I'm going to make a change in it. So you'll press blast to pass by and not have that opportunity to change, or you'll press pause, meaning I want to stop here, I want to pause, and I do want to make a change here. So that's how you make yourself go forward in this thing, like playing Pac-Man. But we just do it with 2 buttons here. Blast goes past, and pause stops, so you can make that change, and then you can move forward from there. All right, so that being said, what I want to go over, and I'm not going to go over every single one of these. Best thing you can do is at your leisure is to sit down and go over this step by step, use the glossary back and forth, understand this thing. It's not all that complicated. It was when I first looked at it, but it's not anymore once I've done it a few times. Step one. Step one is setting the valve frequency. The valve frequency is factory set. You have no need whatsoever to change that. But if you do change that, I can tell you what's going to happen. And that's in the glossary of terms, in the valve frequency. All right, let's go back. That's the first thing you're going to run into under glossary of terms. Valve frequency, that's at the top of page 5. Valve frequency, every proportional valve functions best on a certain electronic frequency or hertz. This signal typically varies from 20 to 300. If set too high, the valve becomes jumpy and erratic, and if set too low, it becomes sluggish and slow to shift. That's about as simple as it can get. I mean, it's, if you set it too high, it's on crack. If you set it too low, it's drunk. So, you know, just as simple as that. So that's the first one we run into there. What is valve frequency? You know, this is a communication path for that valve, is what it is. All right. So you remember the ones that have adjusted the dial settings on our circuit board, how we always dial in 0 and then we dial in the top end on our spinner and conveyor controls. That's what we're doing on these next ones here. Step 2 is the minimum rate, or dialing in 0 on our auger or conveyor.